Zootopia is back on the menu, and so are your favorite rabbit and your favorite red fox. But is it any good? Let's find out. The original Disney animation Zootopia released 9 years ago in 2016, and the notion of a city of animals and 2 cops at the center cracking a case was a unique, one-of-a-kind concept. In the first film, Rabbit Judy was an experienced cop, while Red Fox Nick was all new to the game. Now we find the 2 animal cops in equal footing, as partners both on the job and off. After failing a simple police job in spectacular fashion, the Zootopia Police Department threatens to separate the 2, and the only way for them to keep their partnership is to go undercover and crack their biggest case yet. One which sets them on the trail of a mysterious reptile who turns the mammal metropolis of Zootopia upside down. As far as sequels to modern animation films go, the results tend to be pretty middling. It's rare that you get something that outright betrays the first movie, but if you look at something like The Incredibles 2 or Finding Dory, you often walk out thinking, well, that was a fun time, but that comes nowhere close to the brilliance of the first. Having now seen Zootopia 2, I can say that for better or worse, it does fall into that same category. I think we should all be thanking our lucky stars that this isn't a god-awful ride at home about how bad it is kind of sequel, but it's one we easily could have done without. When you're making a movie sequel, there are pretty much 2 paths you can go down on. You can try to flip the formula on its head, or you can try to play into the strengths of the original. It becomes evident pretty quickly that directors Jared Bush and Byron Howard decided to travel down that latter path. While not a beat for beat remake in the style of The Force Awakens, this really does play to a lot of the same strengths as the original. There's no attempt to reinvent the wheel here. At its heart, it's an adventure buddy cop comedy where you mix in a little bit of comedy, a little bit of action, and a little bit of heart for good measure. In playing to those same strengths, Jared and Byron have made it pretty hard for them to fail. If you loved the first movie, there's a great chance you'll like this as well. And while opting to essentially follow the formula of the first film assures you likely won't walk away with this having had a terrible time, there's also very little to discover and fall in love with. If you set your goals really high, then even if you miss the mark, there's a chance that you still walk away with something special. But these filmmakers clearly didn't go into this movie with sky-high ambitions, which leaves us with a sequel that likely won't blow anyone away. When the first film released all those years ago, it was such an incredibly fresh concept, and going into a sequel 9 years later, there was no way you could repeat the same concept and have it have the same effect. So what we end up with is a solid sequel, but one that essentially functions as a worse version of the original. But to its credit, a worse version of the original is still pretty good compared to most standards. It does hit a lot of the same cliche beats you would expect going into a Disney animated movie, but damn, it hits them well. More than the intrigue of the mystery at play, you truly fall in love with the relationship between our 2 lead characters, and when they cry, we all cry together. Again, the film isn't doing anything you haven't seen many times before in terms of story structure and character beats, but it really makes the case for how the only thing separating cliches from reliable story beats is execution. In terms of voice cast, there's a mix between recognizable names like Jason Bateman, lesser known names like Don Lake, all the way to world-famous global pop stars like Shakira. I know a lot of people rag about how A-list stars are invading voice acting, but if a movie like this is anything to go off of, all that really matters is, are these people invested in the characters, and can they get us to care too? And to that I have to say, yes. They really sell the emotion here, to the point where you're able to see past the red fox and just see a character's heart. Even more compelling than the personal story at stake here is the societal one this movie tells. I'm under no illusions that Disney is anything other than a mega corporation that cares only about maximizing profit, but in an era where you read stories about Ubisoft cancelling an Assassin's Creed game because they were afraid it would piss off racists, it's genuinely satisfying to sit down and watch a movie with an anti-xenophobia theme at play. And if Disney doesn't care, you can at least tell that the storytellers here did, crafting a story that works well on both a personal level and as a societal one. But while the movie works, I left wishing it did more. I left wishing it sang, that it took more risks, that it dared to do something that would put it at jeopardy of being called a disappointing sequel, because the filmmakers cared about trying something new. It's not as fresh the second time around, there's nothing as funny as the DMV scene in the first film, so while you'll enjoy your time and likely won't regret this movie exists, you also wouldn't notice if it simply didn't. And for that, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for weekly TV and movie reviews. And if you've had the chance to watch Zootopia 2, jump in the comments and let us know what you thought about it. I'm Cinemike, and I'll see you next time.